The big day is finally upon us, and things are about to get very interesting. Not only will teams be welcoming new, young talent into their organizations, but the draft is also an event where we typically see quite a few big trades go down, so even more chaos could ensue on top of it all. For this video, we will of course be sticking to the draft itself, as this is what we've been building up to all season long by releasing one mock draft per month leading up to the main event, so this will be the final installment to serve as our one last prediction for how we think things will go down. Before we start though, it turns out a good amount of you watching right now aren't even subscribed to the channel, so if you enjoy the content, consider hitting the subscribe button, as not only does it help out a ton, but I'd also very much appreciate it. Now with that being said, let's begin. Starting things off with the number 1 pick in the draft, the Atlanta Hawks select Zaccharie Risacher from France. The draft should get interesting from the very beginning because from what I've seen in reports about the Hawks situation, they don't seem to be set on any one guy yet and are also considering trading down from the top spot. Alexandre Sarr is seen as the top prospect by most scouts, but the Hawks don't seem as interested in him as other scouts do, and after Zaccharie Risacher worked out for the Hawks last week, the takeaway has been that they're leaning more towards him being the guy if they stay put. Risacher is a big wing player that brings defensive versatility, off-ball movement, spot-up shooting prowess, and solid instincts off the ball, and on top of it all is probably a slightly better fit in the Hawks lineup, so that's where the current edge is in his favor seems to be. Next, with the second pick in the draft, the Washington Wizards select Alexandre Sarr from France. Unlike the Hawks, the Wizards have made it very clear that they are interested in drafting Sarr, so if Atlanta does pass on him, then Washington will not hesitate to pull the trigger. The Wizards need a lot of help in general right now, but they were a bottom 3 ranked defense last season, and the only big men under contract for them going into next year are Marvin Bagley and Richaun Holmes, so not only is Sarr the best player available for them here, but he's also the best fit for their needs. Sarr projects to be an outstanding defensive anchor inside as a shot blocker who rotates well and contests a ton of shots in the paint, and offensively, he's also shown a noticeable improvement shooting from the perimeter, which would make him even more valuable in playoff settings down the line. Next, with the third pick, the Houston Rockets select Reed Sheppard from Kentucky. The Rockets are another team that have been shopping their pick around to potentially trade it for a while, so there's no guarantee they stay here, but if they don't find a deal in time and stay put, then they don't have a specific need to target here, so they can explore a few different options. Sheppard is one of the safer picks and could definitely come in and play a strong role in their rotation right away, as a secondary playmaking option who converts the opportunities that he gets at a ridiculously efficient rate. Sheppard shot 54% from the field and 52% from 3 at Kentucky, and he doesn't ever force things when they're not there, so he's very smart about how he operates and when he chooses to attack. The Rockets want to get back to their winning ways as soon as possible, so drafting a player that can contribute immediately could be what sways their decision. Next, with the fourth pick, the San Antonio Spurs select Stephon Castle from Connecticut. Castle may not have been a go-to guy on this year's national title-winning UConn team, but he was a starter who played a very key role in their success defensively. He was often tasked as a freshman with defending the opposing team's best player each night. He's a tough competitor, and he works incredibly hard on his game. The Spurs have been rumored to be a big fan of his for a few months now, and the fit makes a lot of sense, as Greg Popovich has always been known to want to work with young talent that have a team-first mindset, willing to sacrifice for the greater good, which is exactly what Castle did this year at UConn. If he can become even a league average shooter or better, then Castle would be the exact type of 3-and-D secondary playmaking type that helps teams win championships, and the Spurs are a good fit to take that risk. Next, with the fifth pick, the Detroit Pistons select Matas Buzelis from G League Ignite. Buzelis with the Pistons is another example of a fit that has been reportedly expressing mutual interest in each other for a while, and it's the upside that the Pistons should be most intrigued with taking a swing at. At the current moment, Buzelis is a very raw talent, but he's shown flashes of being the type of wing player that can play a bunch of different roles, as he's shown strong passing instincts for someone his size, he's very quick and athletic, and he can defend multiple positions at a high level. Scoring-wise, his inconsistency shooting the ball is where the concern lies, because his jumper isn't quite reliable yet, but it's not broken either, and he works hard at improving it, so it could be done. Next, with the 6th pick, the Charlotte Hornets select Dalton Knecht from Tennessee. LaMelo Ball should be back healthy next season, and the Hornets desperately need more offensive firepower around him moving forward. Ball's passing talent can open up a lot of looks for shooters. The Hornets just don't have that many, as they were the 3rd worst offensive team last season, so bringing in Dalton Knecht, who may be the best pure scorer in the class, is an obvious combination of talent and fit. Knecht averaged about 22 points per game at Tennessee this year, shooting very well inside and out, making 48% of his shots and 42% of his threes, and he's the type of player where once he heats up, he can change a game entirely on his own, scoring in bunches. Next, with the 7th pick, the Portland Trail Blazers select Donovan Clingan from Connecticut. Clingan will definitely be in consideration for a few teams selecting before this pick, but in the case that he does fall to Portland at 7, this is where I see that slide ending. A team may trade up to draft Clingan earlier as well, but since we're not here to predict any of those trades in this video, I definitely see a fit for Clingan in Portland. The Trail Blazers do have DeAndre Ayton and Robert Williams on the roster already at center, but both have concerns for different reasons, and the Blazers need to figure out their long-term anchor sooner rather than later, which is exactly what Clingan can be, as he was the most dominant defender in college this past year. Up next, with the 8th pick, the San Antonio Spurs select Rob Dillingham from Kentucky. The Spurs have 2 picks in the top 10, and earlier we had them selecting the ultimate competitor defense-first player in Stephon Castle, so now here they should target more of a need in Rob Dillingham. The Spurs desperately need more playmaking in their rotation, as point guard was their biggest weak spot last year, and even though Dillingham does have concerns about his size and defensive capabilities, he is easily the craftiest and most skillful, and one of the most talented offensive players in the draft this year, and could make life very easy for Victor Wembanyama on the offensive end. Next, with the 9th pick, the Memphis Grizzlies select Cody Williams from Colorado. Williams started the season pretty strong, showing off an efficient scoring game inside and out, solid two-way play, and a ton of upside to tap into. He did, however, suffer an injury in the middle of the season, and after he came back from it, he didn't quite look the same, but scouts are still intrigued by what they saw early on in the year. The Grizzlies will be looking to get back on track as a perennial playoff team with Ja Morant back on the court, so taking a guy like Williams, who would be in a smaller role early on to ease him into the action, would probably be a good idea. Next, with the 10th pick, the Utah Jazz select Nikola Topic from Serbia. Topic was one of the top prospects in this draft class for most of the season, but unfortunately, he suffered a torn ACL last month, which has obviously cooled the hype on him a bit. Torn ACLs aren't the end of the world by any means, but they do make taking him early in a draft a lot riskier, and even with all of that being said, the Jazz are a team in position to take a swing on him as they're already somewhat set at the guard spots for next season, but long-term are not committed to a few of their current guys, and easing Topic into action as he recovers from his injury so he could be their long-term plan would be good for both parties. Up next, with the 11th pick, the Chicago Bulls select Ron Holland from G League Ignite. Holland came into the year expected to be in the mix for the #1 pick, but after a lot of early disappointment with his production in the G League, I now think he's become a bit underrated, and with him expected to slide at least to the Bulls here at 11, I think they could be getting themselves a steal. Holland definitely didn't shoot the ball great from 3 last season in the G League, making just 24% of his shots from deep, but overall, he was still their best player, averaging nearly 21 points a night against professional athletes, and his explosiveness and finishing ability in the paint was very impressive. He plays hard at all times, he's got a great competitive spirit, and there's definitely room for his jumper to improve, so for a late lottery pick, the Bulls will be all over this. Next, with the 12th pick, the Oklahoma City Thunder select Bub Carrington from Pittsburgh. Carrington is the youngest player in the draft this year, and in his 1 season at Pitt, he showed off an incredibly advanced ability to shoot off the dribble and knock down tough pull-up jumpers. His ability to create shots off the dribble, create space, and something out of nothing is the type of skill set NBA teams will always drool over. Carrington just needs to figure out a few other things before he blossoms. His decision-making isn't always great, and he needs to improve as a defender, but OKC are in desperate need of more shot creators in their rotation, so they can definitely afford to take a swing here. Next, with the 13th pick, the Sacramento Kings select Devin Carter from Providence. Carter was one of the best players in college this year and might be the best perimeter defender in the entire class. The Kings are in need of defensive help for sure if they want to make it back to the playoffs. They need win-now talent, and Carter is just that. Plus, after his jumper had been a cause for concern early in his career, he took big strides as a shooter this year to build momentum for his overall growth as a prospect. And finally, with the last pick in the lottery, the Portland Trail Blazers select Jacoby Walter from Baylor. Earlier, we had the Blazers selecting rim protector Donovan Clingan with their first lottery pick, so with their second selection in this range, they can shoot for upside with Walter, who is another volume scoring type of talent who may not be as consistent as you would like yet, but he's shown the flashes of a guy who can get buckets in a hurry at the next level, inside and out, and you can never have too many of those types of players at the next level. And with that being said, that's all I have for you today. Make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and comment down below what you think will go down in tonight's draft. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all next time.